All right. Welcome to the wheel pick, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, just gentlemen, unless one of you guys decides to identify as a girl and hasn't come out to the group yet. So welcome to the wheel pick, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Fernando Prestamon, owner of the Shanghai Sharpedos, and I'll be your host today, joined by...
I'm Pison, coach of the Portland Trailblazers. I was going to make a skinny penis joke, but I forgot to.
And I'm Ben Schluter, coach of the Hong Kong Bronzongs and commissioner of the Midwest Pokemon League.
Cool.
Alrighty, welcome to the Week 1 Power Rankings. We had a couple of battles this week, only a few. I mean, maybe a bit more than actually expected. Kind of crazy.
It was close. We almost didn't reach the amount of battles necessary, but we got them all in.
Do we want to go through the wide lens and just do a rundown of all the games?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I can go ahead and take care of that.
I guess we'll just go through them by the order that they appear in League Central. So.
Okay, so do we want to do like a really quick rundown where I just read through everything, or?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Go for it.
All right. Pison, cue the music. Week one wide lens. So Bog Q visits the Rotom Washington wielding a Rotom Wash of his own. Neither side comes out hot in the beginning as both sides start trading chip. Roar Mew is there to prevent the setup and actually works to keep Grassy Sea Bulu from getting out of hand. On turn 27, we see First Blood, Infernape close combats Garchomp, and Magnezone melts Mega Scizor away. But Quinn was just sacrificing a couple pieces to put his queen in the right position to clean up. Victini, the Barber, cuts away at Patty's team and claims the top of the league leaders. It's a 4-0 for the Bog champ. Going to the next battle. Happening near the brink of deadline, we get the Moonlight rematch between the Tailblazers and the War Turtles. After about a dozen turns chipping away at each other, Mega Pinsir activates and takes out Tangrowth. Sending in the Manectric, Piano makes the read and Signal beams the Crook, who now poses a massive threat with Tangrowth out of the way. Shortly after, Poison makes another excellent prediction and KOs Skarm with the Fire Blast from Slaking. But with Truant now active, Mega Pinsir takes advantage and SDs up. But alas, Max Defensive Arcanine tanks the EQ and kills with Flare Blitz. Finally, the Crook locks into a close combat and lets Dragapult take it home. One dance was all it took for Pult to sweep and send Dan packing. It's a 3-0 victory for Piston and the Portland Trailblazers. Looking at the Bronzongs and the Bay Haluchas, this one was all Hong Kong. By turn 2, both Megas are set up. By turn 12, Megalodios begins to stack Calm Minds, but stacks one too many after taking a Toxic from Palisand, preventing it from doing any long-term damage in the match. Nidoking, the hard switch for Coco, comes in on the Tapu and predicts the switch to Mega Aerodactyl, picking up his second kill. A few turns later, it switches into Coco again, taking the Grass Knot and killing with Sludge Wave to pick up its final kill before falling to Barraskewda, and key point, prevents Hitmonlee from proccing its Electric Seed. To cap it off, Moxie Gyarados dances its way to victory, and it's a 5-0 for the Commissioner. Moving on, we got a border battle between Wisconsin Weaviles and the Minnesota Victinis, both featuring some of the two premier physical water types, Urshifu Rapid Strike and Dracovish. Araquanid gets webs up for Alex and keeps them up, blocking Claydol's Rapid Spin. Swan, in turn, reveals Rock Polished Landorus Incarnate, doing away with Thunderous T, the early nuisance. Later, Sylveon gets in a standoff with Toxtricity, and it refuses to go down as it wishes upon wish. It takes out the Mimikyu in exchange for losing its webs. And finally, Toxtricity takes it out and evens the field at 3 apiece. Dracovish, with the free Fishes Wren, decides, nah, I'm going to take a nap. With Toxtricity gone after a nasty plot flamethrower from Mega Houndoom, Fish comes in and lands the Fishes Wren via Sleep Talk, taking out the Doom. But Lightning doesn't strike twice, and Urshifu Rapid Strike is able to avoid the Sleep Talk Fishes Wren and takes it out. With his back against the wall, Lando Y opts to not polish on the bandit Urshifu locked into close combat. And after killing Araquanid, Ursh switches right back and surprisingly outspeeds and kills the Lando to take the upset victory. The Axe is going home with the Weaviles in Season 10. Now, to our anticipated match of the week, Hero 5 versus Villain 5. The fabled Kevin Durant's taking on the infamous Denver Darkrai. The Darkrai came into this one with one of the highest touted drafts, and he proves it with this match. Once he got webs up, it was over. No defoggers for the Durants means trouble. A huge +1 crit Pyro Ball neutralizes Dusclops and removes a key defensive member of the Durants. Later, Nihilego works its way into the game and kills the Darmanitan despite the Meteor Beam miss. The Darkrai dismantled the Durants piece by piece, and it was one of the most dominant performances in Week 1. A 5-0 for Bobby Hahn and the first win for the Villains. Here we've got the belt match between the Mawwiles and the Pidgeots, and let me tell you, this one was a doozy. With rocks up on the Mawwow's side, Serena goes for its new triple axel move, but Gliscor blocks to avoid the Oko. Predicting the switch, Mike spins to remove rocks and takes out the Heatran with a high jump kick. With Serena finally fainting to toxic damage, Gliscor is able to do what it wants, trapping opponents with Sand Tomb as they suffer to death, a classic Ethan Porter strategy. He does this not once, not twice, 3 times in the match, but unfortunately it was not enough. As we approach the end game, it's a 2v2. Keldeo can't Oko with Icy Wind, but eventually lands the kill on that pesky Gliscor. But Mega Pidgeot finally enters the field, makes quick work of Keldeo, and proceeds to confuse Rotom Heat through Hurricane. But Mike is able to hang on through a turn of confusion and is able to snap out of it in the second turn and kills the Pittsburgh mascot to win a narrow 1-0. Ethan Porter keeps the belt for 1 more week. The Heroes may have been winning like crazy so far, but it's about to change in this match. The Las Vegas Lycanrocs take on the newly rebranded Sacramento Nidokings. Henry is able to get webs up early while taking heavy damage from Moltres. Once switched out, Moltres comes back in and defogs them away, as well as the Psychic Terrain. Now this is Henry's chance. Dragon Dance on Salamence to get his offense going, but no. A Hidden Power Ice crits, making the Mence into minced meat. Shortly after that tragedy, Cal pulls out the dagger, Z Happy Hour Jirachi, to put the Lycanrocs out of their misery. It was a whopping 6-0 for the Nidokings, giving the villains their second win. And the villains aren't done yet. The Chicken Pessimians taking on Nando and the Shanghai Sharpedos, giving the speedy Regieleki its league debut. Turn 1, with nothing to switch into, Nando uses his Z move to give up the Mamoswine. After taking out the Escavalier, it's a clash of 2 Titans, Mega Kangaskhan and Tornadus T. Torn gets it into range with a Hurricane, but Jasper opts to stack his stats with 2 power-up punches. Turn 2, it goes for Priority Sucker Punch, but it just can't do enough to kill after Life Orb recoil. Finally, the Pessimians meet their death when they bring out, of all sets, Choice Scarf Breloom. Nando brings in the Gothitelle, trapping the Breloom and proceeding to sweep with a nasty Cosmic Power Stored Power set with a Salac Berry to add +1 speed. The villains take their 3rd win with a 5-0 for the Sharpedos, and that is your wide lens for the week.
Wow, that was very in-depth. Thank you, Ben.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
So I did not include our Scope Lens match of the week, which is the Hartford Wailords in the Los Angeles Lake Spirits, so we can go straight into that.
I think we should go through the rankings and then go into the Scope Lens at a later time.
That works.
All right. We've talked a lot about the games. We can go into our collective power rankings. Now, as a group, we have different opinions. They will be showing on the screen now. However, we decided to collect these opinions from each individual, put them into a whole and see what happens, and thus here we are. At number 16, or 18 I should say, excuse me, we have Henry and the Las Vegas Lycanrocs. There's a lot that can be said about this game, and I'm gonna let someone else say it because I don't want to shit on Henry even more.
I'm a villain. Yo, you fucking suck, my guy. I don't know what to say. Like, honestly, it was good prep by Cal to have the HP Ice on the Moltres, but other than that, that game was just, like, really sad. The fact that the Rachi could just set up like that, I'm not even sure +1 EQ from Mence even kills it, so it probably would have been able to just flinch you out anyway. It just seems like there was a massive lack of prep. He didn't utilize his Psychic Terrain and the Sash Zam properly. It was overall just a really disappointing performance from the Lycanrocs.
I mean, ultimately, Henry didn't have an answer for
The right
Z Happy Hour Jirachi, even
or Rachi,
when he still had the Salamence. There was no clear answer to that.
Also, very unfortunate that Henry had to play against 2 Scarfs on his very slow team. There's really not much that he can do about that, and going into further weeks, there's still not much he can do about that unless he makes proper waivers, so we shall see what happens in the coming weeks.
Yeah, he's looking to make some moves to add a different element to his team, so we're looking forward to what is going to change.
This is just something that I want to say that's like completely separate, but like just thinking about it, I think if you want a Psychic Terrain setter, Lele is just so much worse actually than
Indeedee.
Because you want to run Terrain Extender, right? So that way you can really boost up, so that way the Alakazam can have as much time as possible. But Terrain Extender on Lele, dude, that shit's fucking sad.
Yeah,
At that point, I
Lele
would-
really needs a different move
Specs.
to run than Terrain Extender.
And different
Yeah,
item.
Lele wants the Scarf or the Life Orb or the Specs.
Or the Z, the Z especially.
Or the Z move. You just don't want to be running Terrain Extender on Lele. Honestly, at that point, you would just draft like an NU Psychic type and give it Terrain Extender and Psychic Terrain and just tell it to go die for you. I actually don't like the Lele Zam combo. I think it really gimps Lele.
I don't like the Lele Zam combo for a different reason. I think Zam is the worst psychic type to abuse psychic terrain. It just,
Really? Come on, man. That thing can get the free nasty plot off. Like,
why do people keep talking about nasty plot Zam like it's a fucking threat? It's not a threat.
Yeah, I had it last split. It did more on my bench than in actual matches.
I would so much rather run Thunderwave or Counter and just have it be utility if I'm going to sash it. And if I'm going to Life Orb it, then I just want 4 moves. Nasty Plot's not good on that Mon because it doesn't have the bulk to take a hit, and it doesn't have like the damage to actually kill shit. I don't
did
know.
you just say it doesn't have the bulk to take a hit when the gimmick is that it
If the
has
gimmick is you run a
focus
focus
dash?
sash, so if the gimmick is you run a focus sash, then you don't have the life orb for extra damage, and you can't kill shit at +2. That is what the problem is with
Because that's why
Alakazam.
you have the nasty plot, so that way you don't have to do the
You
life orb.
can't kill shit. That's what the problem is. You can't break walls with a +2 Alakazam. It's not possible. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, because most Scarfs just outspeed it and are able to take it out with a physical move, especially U-turn.
Yeah.
And it's not going to run Scarf itself.
Like, I don't know if there are good.
No, yeah, 120
second terrain
speed
abusers,
is
the
actually
thing.
really sad.
Yeah, I imagine getting outsped by tornadoes by 1 point. Pretty fucking rough.
Lele doesn't get Expanding Force, right?
Lele does
No.
not, and Zam does, but again, it's the same thing as Nando said. You know, you need the terrain extender on Lele for it to actually work out, and that mon does
Right.
not like having terrain extender. But I think we've said enough about this team. If Henry's making waivers, dear God, I hope there's some crazy ones because he needs that team to start working out for him. Moving into number 17, we unfortunately have another hero. The Chicken Passimians. The Chicken Passimians.
The Chicken Passimians.
Yes. It hurts. It hurts.
I will say that going into this game, I thought that the Gothitelle was gonna not do anything because I had it as a Mac. Because I think the gimmick was to try and set it up on Donphan or Alolan Ninetales, which I thought that he would bring because Scarf Alolan Ninetales with Freeze Dry actually puts in a pretty decent amount of work against my team, but he didn't do that. So I thought the Gothitelle was just not actually gonna have an opportunity to set up until it happened. I don't really have anything else to say.
I mean, we have to talk about the
Other than
Sweet
that,
Scarf
I am this
Breloom.
league's premier team builder, Ben. Me. Look at me.
I don't think Choice Scarf Breloom is a bad idea. I just don't think it was good for this week.
It's not a bad set, and like when you
I
look
think
at what
the
happened
issue
in
is
the
that if you're
battle,
going to bring it, you don't want to bring Force Palm and try and abuse the Technician. At that point, you just bring Close Combat.
I disagree personally. I get what you're saying. I think that, especially with his team, right? Breloom at most is like a fun gimmick. Breloom will never win him a game. What will win him games is Volcarona and Kangaskhan.
yeah,
Sure, but like, why are you bringing Force Palm? Why are you gonna, if you're gonna have your Scarfmon, if you're gonna have a Scarf physical attacker, right? Why are you gonna have it use a move that has 30 less power? For what reason is there, Pison?
For the para, obviously. It's the same thing as asking why run Rock Slide over Stone Edge. It's for the chance of a, like, crit. Or
Well,
not the
and
chance
That's
of a
so
for
you
crit,
don't
sorry.
fucking
accuracy.
miss. Bite me.
You still have a chance to miss on Rock Slide, so again, it's literally about the hacks that is involved, in my opinion.
I would say that most people would disagree with that opinion.
That's fair. We clearly have different opinions on that.
Yeah, I think your opinion sucks.
I think your
Honestly, not
opinion
even joking. I
sucks.
think Orbeetle would probably be one of the premier mons to pair with with sorry, I had to go back to this because Orbital, you can set up the webs and then you can psychic terrain and then you can like U-turn out or some shit, you know. It's just like that's more what you want. Like if you're gonna have a terrain setup, you want it to be more utility. Something like, I don't know, Pin Urchin or Pinch Urchin or whatever. I don't even shit it.
Pinkerchin.
Pinkerchin.
Pin Urchin, I heard it.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, this battle, it happened. I don't know what else. I don't know what the Volk set or the Runiclus set could have been. You talked about how the Khan was really weird, being like a max HP, max speed set. If it had the attack, it could have killed the Torn potentially.
Yeah, I think it needed more attack investment if it wanted to do what it did with Power Up Punch.
Yeah, but like if you got rid of the speed, if you didn't have any speed for it, then he would have died to the Hurricane into the Scizor Bullet Punch. So like, there's no real out there, you know.
Yeah.
Catch 22.
Yep.
So moving forward, I think we've talked about that game. Ben, would you like to talk about the Chesapeake Bay Holuchas as they were your opponent?
The only mistake that I found in that match was he just left Fortress in too long. The toxic on, what was it? The toxic on Palisand. But he had Protect on the Fortress, which I didn't like that choice because it just gave me more freedom to do what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But other than that, his mons are good. The other mistake was he didn't, he mistimed his electric terrain and wasn't able to get the electric seed boost on Hitmonlee, assuming that he had electric seed on Hitmonlee.
He had electric seed on Hitmonlee. There's no denying it, because if he had a white herb, then he would have close combated or cursed, and if he had normal gem, he would have fake outed. So,
right.
I mean, there is the off chance he could have been choice banned. I don't know, but that doesn't seem very likely to me.
I would like to assume that he did hopefully have electric seed, and in that instance, he wasn't able to proc it, and it wasn't able to do any damage late in the match. I think I still would have won anyways, but...
You had Thunderwave on your Whimsicott, right?
Stun Spore, yeah.
Same difference.
Yep.
I feel as though he just had nothing for Nidoking, because every single time Nidoking came out, it was just like him sacking a Mon, bringing in Barraskewda, and then rinse and repeat, because you just went into Whimsicott at that point.
So there was one set on... Tapu Koko that I was slightly worried about. You can do a Calm Mind stored power set, where it's able to do actual damage to Nidoking. But the most damage he was able to do was with Grass Knot, and it did a measly 30%, which means he wasn't Scarf or Specs. But yeah,
my issue with it is I think his team needs to be able to keep up momentum a lot harder than that. I think he had to have U-turn on Coco, but at that point he can't afford to have rocks up. If he had U-turn on Coco, he could have potentially just like U-turn flip turned on you like for the entire game.
Oh, absolutely.
But he didn't utilize how strong his like fast offensive like pivots could be, and because of that, he didn't have any pressure in the game and he lost.
Yeah, he just wasn't able to find that momentum, and no knock to his mons. His mons are good. It's just they couldn't get in the right position to take control of the match.
I did like the Palisand bring this week because it was just like a soft answer to Latios.
I did. I did like seeing that.
I wasn't expecting that kind of team building from Salvi, so I'm glad to see that he is taking this seriously, and he will.
It was the last mon I thought he would bring.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely expected P2.
I didn't expect P2 out of his team just because you punish P2 really hard, but you really don't know what to expect.
The problem is P2 prevents Gyarados and probably Megalodius from being able to sweep. So I needed to make sure I had an answer for that, which is why I brought Kong.
Kong, yeah.
Mr. Durr.
All right.
We've talked about this game plenty before, but at number 15, Kevin Durant's if you didn't see the last Wheel Pick podcast, we did a scope lens into
You should go see it, and we're not going to explain what happens because
Yeah.
we need that. We need the views, guys. Like, come on, help
Yeah,
a brother out.
because we care about views. We care about
Guys,
viewer
please,
retention.
my ad revenue. Help.
Yeah, but
I don't have a job. I'm
there's
very poor.
there's not much to say that we didn't already cover. Nando went very in depth as to the problems of Thomas's team and why they were so apparent in that game. And we'll just see what happens in further weeks with Thomas.
What do you think Thomas's next steps are, as far as
I mean, in terms
improving
of
his team?
wavering?
Yeah, wavering as well.
Uh,
But what's something that he should also keep in mind just in future battles, not depending on waivers?
bring hazard control. I don't know what to tell you. He needs to have hazard control for half these games. Because there's a lot of BS that's going to be happening now that people have seen how to abuse Thomas's team. I would very much like to see Thomas do interesting things with Vaporeon, because our personal advocate for Vaporeon Baton Pass stuff, Zach Schroeder, is currently not playing this season, but he loves bringing Curse Baton Pass and work up Baton Pass, all that stuff. So I'd like to see.
Yeah, work some momentum into your lineup.
I'd like to see that. Also, Vaporeon got Flip Turn, I'm pretty sure. So bring that Mon more often. Like it's so valuable.
I agree. Moving on, we got Patrick Bruce and the Rotom Washingtons at number 14. He got 6-0'd by Victini.
Yep.
Yeah. What else is there to say?
I mean, he obviously shouldn't have clicked HP Fire on the Scizor. He didn't need the damage. He was Specs. T-Bolt would have killed.
T-Bolt would have killed and would have put him in a better position against the Victini. Victini could not set
Yeah,
up
Volt
against
Switch
that.
even had a chance of killing if he wasn't an HP invested Scizor. There's multiple things that could have been done. He could have set up his Spectre at any point. It was good on Quinn to see the opportunity to set up the Victini and sweep with it. Not gonna
Before
take away
Spectre
from
got
that.
on the field.
We'll get to
What?
Quinn when we get there.
Before Spectre got on the field and was able to do anything.
Yeah.
Yes. Because like the set that Patty brought with the Spectre could have easily set up on the Miltank actually, like just fully set up on the Miltank and just slowly beat down Quinn's team. But I do think Quinn played it well. He got all the chip that he needed. He knocked off the Infernape, so that way Patty lost his speed control. I think overall it was a really well played game by Quinn. But I would say that Patty had multiple opportunities to try and bring the game to a better position, but failed to jump on them.
Yeah. I think the big problem with Patty's team, and it's very evident in this game, is that his defensive Mon is Feeny. That's like one of his best defensive Mons, and it doesn't have recovery. And it was just literally a matter of Quinn weakening the Feeny to a point where he could win with Victini, and then like that was, you could tell that was Quinn's only game plan. It was the only thing he was thinking about, because he was constantly gaining momentum every single time Feeny came in. Feeny was constantly getting punished for coming in against the Garchomp, and I don't know. It seems as though Patty just needs to play that Mon better, or at the very least bring a defensive Mew, so that way he doesn't have to play that Mon better.
Yeah, well said.
Alright. Moving forward, number 13, Mr. Keys and the War Turtles, my opponent for the week. I mean, I can just sum up this game as, why did you CC with the Scarf Mon when Dragapult was in the back?
Yeah.
Crazy. He had the exact same issue as Patty of just misclicking a move at the very end of his
With his choice
Mon,
yeah.
and then losing because the opponent could backsweep him.
It was a very short-sighted play. Crocodile was the Croak Choice Band or Choice Scarf?
It was Scarf, because it outscaled
Okay, it was
one
Scarf.
of my Mons. I don't
Good.
remember which one.
I mean,
Yeah. It was just one turn lost him the battle there. Otherwise, he played relatively well. He just got out predicted by Pison.
I wouldn't say he played well is the problem, and yeah, in part you can attribute that to I just kind of knew what he had to do. But
sorry, did you have Choice Band on the Metagross?
I did.
Okay.
In part, it is I just knew what he had to do every single turn, so I punished him for it. But the fact that he's, again, I mentioned this when I was ranking this team, he has to play in a very specific way in order to, make his defensive mons work. And in a way, it's the same thing with Patty, and people will punish him for that because it's a very obvious play. The second I bring in Slaking, I know he's going to go into Skarmory because it's the only option he has that doesn't lose him a mon.
Yep.
I think that's...
Wow, man, Metagross is tanky. If he managed to just actually, if he didn't click CC to kill it there, I don't even know, man.
It'd be a different battle for sure.
Zero or anything else. Like if he managed to get a bit more chip, there might have been a chance for the crew to try and backsweep you.
Yeah, like I said, it was a short-sighted play, and he was like, "Oh, close combat. This will for sure kill Slaking."
I don't remember the exact percentages at that point in the game. I believe the Zero Aura was at like 6 HP, so I knew that.
Yeah, the Zero Aura was like 7%.
Yeah,
like if the Zero Aura could be the one to kill the Slaking, and then the crew EQ kills the Slaking, after that it's a bunch of 50-50 rolls. Actually, it's just a bunch of 50-50 rolls.
I knew that if I got 10% more on the Krook, I could kill Krook with Bullet Punch. Yeah. So that was what my game plan was near the end game. But
I don't see how you would do that is the thing. I think Dan was really close to winning this game. This game got pretty... It actually, like, while the sweep did occur, I think the game was a lot closer than it seemed. Right. And Dan just needed to not CC, really, or not go into the Krook that turn.
Yeah.
Because at +1, EQ has a 50% chance to kill the Metagross and the Dragapult. So if he does like sack something to the Manectric, he could bring in the Krook and do it. Or if he I don't know, he could just knock off would work too. It's just, I think this game is a lot closer than it actually seems. I think that Dan misplayed at the very end, but you did play really well, and you also took the opportunity of just setting up and winning.
Yeah.
Dan was playing on one level, Pison was playing a level higher.
Yeah.
40 chess. Moving forward, we have number 12. This is a very contentious placement amongst us. It's Los Angeles.
Do we want to go into the battle?
Yes, I would love to go into
we'll
the battle
scope ones here, now that we're here. So, I think the game gets pretty just fucked by turn 6. After the Rillaboom's in against the Politoed, and he clicks U-turn and it hits the Zapdos. I think, in my opinion, he should have gone hard into the Gardevoir and just clicked Hyper Voice. He didn't because he wanted to save Gardevoir as the Trace counter to Mega Swampert, right? I think at this point, if you ran a Kelk, you would see that the Zapdos is max HP, max defense, and that nothing on your team is touching it, like, at all. Gardevoir is the only thing that can hit it, but also with that, you would know that the Zapdos is slower than the Guard. Hyper Voice right here just decimates something on his team. If he wants to stay in with the Zapdos to U-turn out, that 70 damage that it does that's more than chip, right? That puts Zapdos in a position where if you just U-turn on it or get the Gardevoir in again, even if it roosts, it's dying, right? And I think you just need to try and punch the hole in Espo's team so that you could potentially sweep with like Draco's ult or just do more damage. And I think that the conservativeness of keeping the guard in the back really did bite Tickle in the ass this game.
Mm-hmm. I agree. You mentioned it, how Gardevoir just clicks Hyper Voice, but also the sheer matter of, keeping the Gardevoir as a quote-unquote check to Swampert when you have a Rillaboom on your team. I don't understand that. I don't think I ever will. The only way that Rillaboom is stopped is by Zapdos, therefore your goal should be immediately to kill Zapdos. I don't understand why he saw the Gardevoir as an answer to both, when in reality it was... in a way, it is the answer to both, but not in the way that he was playing it.
Is Gardevoir the answer because of Trace?
Yes, tracing Swift Swim into Energy Ball.
Okay, I wanted to clarify that.
Yep. I also think another thing is he kept the Tentacruel alive for such an extended period of time, but I think that after the Greninja showed Gunk Shot, the Tentacruel should just be able to switch into the Greninja every time until it wakes up. And having it die on the Kyurem was actually a massive waste, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
It also needs to be noted he lost the Weather War. I mean, granted, at that point in the game, he had already lost the game, but, you know, Tickle being a firm advocate of Gens 3 through 5, losing the Weather War is not a good look.
It's really hard for a Sand team to beat a Rain team in a Weather War. Anyways.
Sure, but when the Sand team has Rillaboom and Dracozolt, it's not. He not only should be able to just pick up a kill every single time one of those mons comes in, he should just always switch in the Tyranitar just to switch it out immediately. He kept the Tyranitar in for so long on wasted turns, like clicking Thunder Punch, expecting the Politoed to stay in for whatever reason, when it's very obvious that Swampert is his immediate switch in. Because, you know, Tyranitar can't fucking touch a Swampert. I don't know. It doesn't sit right with me.
So yeah, this was a big win for Espo. Especially with him this is his second split, and he took down Tickle, who's been in the league since the beginning. Fun fact, this was the matchup of two players who both finished second in their first ever splits.
It sounds like you being a flex of your first trophy.
Well, oh, me?
Yeah, you.
That trophy? Oh, yeah, that trophy. Yeah, the one where yeah.
The one that doesn't count, yes.
Of course.
It'll always be the first, though.
God fucking.
But yeah, any other thoughts with this battle?
I think we covered everything. Unless you have any other points, Nando.
No, I mean, I think it was just too conservative with the guard, and that ended up biting him. He should have ran calcs. He didn't run calcs.
Run your
Should've ran
calcs.
calcs. Run your calcs, kids.
Running calcs.
Running
works.
calcs works.
All right.
All right, that's pretty much covered. We can move on.
All right, next up, Ethan.
Why Ominous Wind?
Yeah, no, why Ominous Wind and
Why
then
Ominous
why
Wind?
Roost?
Roost,
I also think the Meloetta was bad, but I would say that this man, I've never seen a Gliscor be played that well. My
I
man
really
is
like the Sand Tomb set.
my man is actually just so good at getting the hard switches off, and like it really just like it's a work of stall art. Like, what can I say?
It's very impressive.
This game was obviously really close. It came down to the very end. If he had, you know, a normal type move on the Pidgeot, he would have won the game.
We could say that the league was in uproar.
Haha. Ben had many disagreements with me, so I'll let Ben say his piece here.
All I'll say is that ultimately he didn't have Uproar. He had Ominous Wind instead. So there's no situation in that game that he ends up winning.
Okay.
Unless he plays better in the match with the team that he's given.
So
That
to
prepped for.
reiterate the argument that we were having before we started the recording, the reason why me and Nando would agree to put him higher, even though I do have him lower on my list, we would agree to put him higher is because of the fact that it's the fact that Ethan played to a point where if he had a good set, he would have won the game, and Mike would have choked by, you know, not playing as well. Obviously, Ethan doesn't have the right set, so therefore it's a problem in his team prep, and he sucks at the game.
Look,
Yep.
I think you can make a case for either that not having the right team or not playing well can go either way. So that's why I'm okay with having Ethan above Tickle at this point.
Hey man, they're all dirty villains to me.
True.
Yeah, I don't know, Ethan. The game happened.
The game
Hopefully he'll know to not run Ominous Wind next time. I literally have no idea what the fuck Ominous Wind is there to hit, too, is the thing. It's just upsetting.
No, you don't understand. If he gets the +1 in every stat, he wins the game.
True.
You know, the 10% chance to win the game instead of the 100% chance to do damage. I don't get it.
Yeah, there's
I'll never
actually
understand
no
running
mon
those
that you
moves.
put that move against.
Yeah. You'd only run it if someone has a quad weakness against it. Mike doesn't have a quad weakness. Run Uproar instead. Crazy. Who would have thought?
Or, you know, just... Because, I don't know, I feel as if he had U-turn, then at the very least he has momentum for the rest of the game. Because, you know, he played the momentum game really well against Mike, I'm pretty sure, I think.
Yeah,
Mike
no,
didn't.
yeah, like actually, there were multiple ways that he could have done it. He did it in the worst possible way.
Yeah.
But,
Still better than
there were
Tickle.
multiple ways he could have built that Pidgeot. So that it wasn't the way that he actually ended up building it.
Right.
Alright. Next up. The last loser. Fucking trash players, all of them. We have
These are your
Swan and the
teammates.
Minnesota Victinis. Hey.
That shit
Yeah,
is
no,
not my fault.
Swan choked.
There were like,
Obviously, if Alex did have Aqua Jet, there was no way out in that game. But because he didn't, or because you don't know whether or not he has Aqua Jet, you should still play to the out of him not having it. So you should Rock Polish on the Araquanid, right? Him not doing that is just like a regular play error. Like always play to your outs, always prep for the crit.
Indeed.
Other than that, he did run a calc. He took a gamble on it being adamant and not jolly. Because of how much damage it did to the Mega Aggron, so he did have his reason for doing that. So I'm not gonna knock him that hard, which is why he's on the top of the losers list. The rest of the game was pretty well played.
there was another turn in the match where instead of just click, because he was a scarf fish, right? He clicked rest instead of Vicious Rend when he had a free Vicious Rend on all of Alex's team.
Well, so, I mean, yeah. It was fun. It was cute to see the set.
It ended up working because he got the kill on Mega Houndoom, but
Yes,
he ended
no,
up
I
still
do
losing the game
think
anyway.
that obviously it was it's cheeky, right? Because like you shouldn't be able to, like, actually looking back on it, the game isn't as close because he did need to roll the Fisher's Friend, right? He needed to. I assume it was just a 50-50. I don't think Swan had a fourth move on the
Like a
Dracofish. Do
third.
any of us know?
Oh, he didn't have a fourth move.
Did you know that?
I'm going to assume that he didn't.
So wait, he had rest, Vicious Rend. Was that
Sleep talk. Yeah.
it? Oh,
So that way it's a 50-50
yeah,
instead
yeah.
of a 33%. But like even then, yeah, it's a coin flip. If he doesn't get it there, he would have lost to the Houndoom, right? So looking back on it,
TCG with
the game isn't as close. The fish set's cheeky.
I like it. Would people be upset if I called this the best match of the week in terms of both players playing well?
Oh no, I think it is.
Yeah.
I think this was a really close back and forth game. I think the Scarf rest is just like a super hype set that deserves to be recognized for the fact that it did work. It shouldn't have worked, but it did work, and you got to give props to that.
Oh yeah. I was just overall like real content with that game. Like, yeah. It could be argued that Alex could have played better in the early game. Swan definitely could have played better in the late game, but overall, well played game on both ends.
Yeah, compared to all the other matches, it was the best played by both sides.
Here's a game that I think is the worst game of the fucking week. First winner, or well, yeah, first winner. The Marseille Malawi's. I have Mike a lot lower than everyone else. I'm gonna admit it. I think Mike played this game really poorly. I think the only reason that he won is because Ethan prepped like shit, and I don't think that Mike should be rewarded for that.
Yes, if you're in a position where you win because your opponent didn't have an obvious move, that is the opponent's fault for letting you win. You didn't win the game, you know?
A good comparison
That
would be if, let's say, Mike was facing against me and I didn't have I don't know, Dragon Dance on my Dragapult. I ran Specs, and then he won because I was Specs and didn't have Dragon Dance. That would be the comparison I would make. Granted, I feel like having Specs is a more reasonable thing than having Ominous Wind on your Mega Pidgeot, but I don't want to shit on Ethan too much. We already went over Ethan. Congrats to Mike for his win. I don't think it was impressive. I want to see him do better in coming weeks.
There were a lot of instances in the match where whether it was like he made a prediction or Ethan stayed in with a mon that he wasn't expecting. And I felt like it happened way too much in the match, to the point where Mike was just at a huge disadvantage and suffered because of the Gliscor being able to trap those mons that made the correct decision and ended up being locked in because they decided to stay in, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Looking back on it, I would probably move Alex above. But next up, we have Alex, right?
Yeah, Alex, Wisconsin Weavils. Again, really well played on Alex's part. It was a solid win. I don't know if he had the Aqua Jet. Ben, do you know? I don't know if you validated that team.
He didn't have Aqua Jet.
He didn't?
No. I don't think he should have.
I would be inclined to agree.
Yeah, I think not having it is fine. But like, obviously, it's not like super crazy to think about. But having the Water Absorb on the Araquanid is super good, and then having Volt Absorb on Torn really does help create like this weird core that you can just switch into whatever Swan could bring. Be it like literally anything. Landorus gets pretty hard walled by the Araquanid, which is why I think it having Leech Life is actually pretty bad. But the water absorbance on Water Bubble for the fish is good, and the Volt Absorb for the Toxicity is good. Houndoom does pretty good work on this team. Everything on Alex's team that he brought, I think, was correct against Swan's team, and then he played the battle out super well. Looking back on it, and missing, the third to last turn where Swan gets lucky with the Sleep Talk, is something that I didn't account for. Other than that, though, I don't know. Alex did just play a clean game.
Yeah.
For having a team that was very lowly rated in week 0 to take a game off the guy who had one of the top rated drafts, according to us, that's huge.
I'd also like to say that I think Alex's team has shown how deceptively bulky it is, and he didn't even have to bring the Glacier to prove that, which is interesting. Because that Sylveon was just in forever, not dying. Granted, it didn't do
It was
anything.
taking sludge waves from Toxtricity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, the Araquanid obviously being water absorbed was good for tanking the Dracovish, and the Doublade was kind of just like a sit there and take damage on something, because it broke Disguise on Mimikyu. It took half off of Aggron. Like, it was deceptively bulky, but also deceptively hard hitting. I don't know. I like that aspect of his team. I wish I would have rated his team a little bit higher in regards to that, but yeah.
Well, seeing the team in action will definitely change your opinion on it.
Yeah, for
So.
sure.
Doublade is interesting. It kind of performs the same function as last year, which is it'll take heavy
there.
hits and it'll deal back heavy damage, and it can also set up. But it's got a better typing. So I've been talking with Alex, and he is looking to make some changes to his team. There are attempts to maybe do a huge overhaul, but I think he's got really good components to his team that he shouldn't need to make too many changes. So I'm excited to see what becomes of this team and if it can maintain success while it enters a transition period.
Agreed. Moving forward, we have someone in the call, Shanghai Sharpedos. I have Nando a lot higher, but you guys disagree, so...
I mean, because there was nothing to the battle, there's no substance to it.
It's still a clean win in terms of prep, in terms of play.
So looking at my rankings, I had myself, Cal, and Nando kind of lumped in the same category, which was we played low tier opponents that didn't necessarily play well themselves, or
Yeah, you can say, you can say it. You can say it.
And my category or my decision for how I placed us was based on how much control there was there in the match. I would say in the instance where he had to sack his Mamoswine at the beginning, that was a lack of control in the match where he had to give something up in order to keep in the right direction in the match. And then whether or not the roll would have happened where the Tornadus would have died, that was another aspect of the match that would have been out of his control. So just ranking us three in that area, I had him the lowest simply because there were multiple elements in the match where he was out of control, but he got the right instance where he got to face that Choice Scarf Breloom and actually go home with the match and not have to deal with the other 4 mons that he was able to just sweep because he got to set up. That's just my thought process on it.
Yeah, but even then, I'm not sure there's anything that he could have done. Not bringing the Dawn fan means that he doesn't have an answer to the specs Aleki, right? Like, Thunder kills literally everything on the team. I don't know. I don't think there was ever a moment that I felt not in control of the match.
I am inclined
after turn 1, but like, yeah, there's nothing else to like see in this game, right? It just happened, you know?
There weren't any key plays that like, it was, oh, that was a good play by Nando. It was, he just made the plays that were necessary.
I'd like to say
there was nothing spectacular.
I'd like to say that turn 1 wasn't necessarily Nando not in control of the match though, because yeah, on the one hand, you know, you had the issue of him losing the Mamoswine early, but he literally body bagged the one thing that was stopping Gothitelle from sweeping super early into the match, and then less than 10 turns later, Gothitelle set up and there's nothing that Jasper can do.
Yeah, I will say that, like, I could have set up rocks, but I did choose to go with the Tectonic Z for the purpose of getting that damage up.
Getting the damage up. Yeah. Using the Z move was the correct move. I agree.
Yeah.
What's the correct Z move? Shoot.
All right. So next up we have Bog Q.
The Bog himself. Another game.
Yeah, I will say the Bog, compared to my game, he definitely had to put in a lot more work before he could get his sweep off, so I would rank him higher.
Mm-hmm.
He took care of all the obstacles on the team. Like he said, he knocked off the Infernape and was able to get all the right damage on each of the mons. And then he proceeded to give up the 2 mons that set up for Victini to win. He knew what he needed to do to win the match, and he set it up perfectly.
Mm-hmm. If there is one thing that I can criticize the Bog for, it was he played relatively safe with his switches. Like, granted, Patty was playing even more safe, and that's why it worked out, but if Patty were to take a more aggressive stance in that game, I think that Quinn would have had a lot more trouble with that. But overall, Quinn just punished every single thing that Patty did. Really well done. Can't say anything else about it.
Yeah, just a good match.
Yeah. We're finding less things to say because obviously these games were played a lot better the higher we go, and
and we also talked about them already.
Sure. Number 5.
All right, Hartford Wailords. He played a good game. I do think that Togo could have punished him harder, but Tyler played a good game, and he deserved the win that he got.
I think that Tyler brought the best team possible in prep. Looking at his team, like Amoongus for the Rillaboom, Kirim for...
Zapdos for the Rillaboom.
That too, but, you know, the Amoongus is there as a backup. So 2 Monstans to the Rillaboom, having Greninja be physically offensive as opposed to special, so that it can run Gunk Shot and kill Gardevoir. Really nice tech. I like that.
Yep.
Especially him missing that gunk shot in the game and still being able to.
That's
pull out the
true.
win,
Like
losing
that
some
game,
momentum.
that game should never have gotten to how close it was in the end there.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
also-
Tyler played a really good game.
Yeah, and we said that this will cement whether or not Tyler will be a top tier battler in the future. Right now, looking like he will be.
He's looking
Yeah.
really good. He's got the Amont next week against Patty. What do we think of that matchup?
Ooh,
I mean, if this week was anything to go off of, I think that Tyler should probably win.
yeah. Especially considering the best thing that Patty has for the Mega Swampert is Feeney, and once again we run into the same issue where Feeney doesn't have recovery. So I don't know.
But against Moonlight, guys.
Haha.
So I need to check the stats on this, but I think Superior might be able to outspeed if it's Scarf.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's something to keep an eye out for, because that's another option that he's able to outspeed. Because looking at Tyler's team, Mega Swampert is the fastest thing on his team.
Yes.
And if Superior is able to outspeed that, that's something that he needs to be aware of. But there are things he obviously needs to play around.
I think he has enough things that he can switch into a Serp, be it the Amoonguss or the Zapdos. If we just look at the stuff that he brought this week,
Yeah.
I think
Mew
it's going to be a
with
pretty uphill battle for
Patty.
Patty.
Yeah, I agree.
Except, what if let me check one thing before we move on.
Wow.
Opening up the team page.
Villains doing their cheating.
I mean, this isn't even cheating for the villains. This is just something for Tyler. Like, he has to bring Gudra, right? Because
Superior?
Spectre is just gonna fucking slap him in the face.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, because
AD
Greninja
Gudra.
can't take those hits.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Greninja's also slower. Like,
Yeah. That was a good point. I honestly forget.
Yeah,
What
Scar
is-
Spectre actually does do really well in this match.
yeah, like, it's something to worry about, but I'm sure that's already on his mind. Yeah, wow, not even Scarf Aerodactyl is faster. Or DD Aerodactyl. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously something to, like, that he has to keep in mind, and I'm sure that he knows, like, people have put in enough word about Spectrier. I would say just looking at it, I think it's pretty Patty favored. But if we go with how they play, like looking at teams, it's Patty flavored. Looking at how they played, though, I think Tyler can probably pull it.
I would hate to know
Patty
what patty
flavored.
flavor tastes like.
Yeah. Patty flavored. Ooh.
Anyways,
La, 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 la. All right.
Hong Kong Bronzons at number
Hong
4.
Kong Bronzons. Ben
Uh,
clicked every move that he needed to win. I don't think there was anything that was like really crazy.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah.
granted, Ben just built and played averagely, but I can't fault him for that when the win was so dominant.
Yeah,
there's
I have
nothing
nothing
else to
to-
really say about that game because it was a very simple game and concept, but it just ended very strongly for Ben because Ben never let Salby get an edge on him.
Myself and Nando, being the tier 3s, we have a very easy start to the schedule, given that we're playing the 9 seed and the 9 tier and the 8 tier in the first 2 weeks. So
Wait, you guys are
these are must wins for us if we want to have a good run for the playoffs.
you guys are tier
They're
3s?
necessary wins for us. What's that?
You guys are tier 3s?
Yeah.
Who the
I'm a
fuck
tier
decided
8
these
player.
tiers?
What did you want me to be? A tier 8?
A tier 2.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, we can discuss tiering another day. Ultimately,
This
It
is
was
the
just
fault of the
we-
council. You hear that,
Well,
Cal?
it's-
I know you're
what is
watching this, you motherfucker. This is your fault.
based on past splits, I would still put Pison at tier 2, even though he didn't make playoffs last split,
Yeah, I
and
didn't.
Swan has been a playoff contender every split. So yeah, he's a tier 2. I didn't make playoffs last split, so I shouldn't be a tier 2.
I didn't make playoffs last split. I didn't win 2 games last split.
You didn't win 2 games?
No.
Wait. So you finished 1-9?
I believe so. Actually, I might have finished
No,
2-8.
that's not correct.
I want to go check it.
Whatever. We'll put up what his record was in post.
Who's we? Fuck you. Moving forward, number 3, the podium, Cal and the Sacramento Nido Kings. We didn't get the metadata or the power rankings, but we did get a pretty outstanding game from Cal. Granted, Henry didn't play too well, but having the double scarf, synergy, knowing that Henry's team is just too slow to beat it and you don't need the extra damage, was very well done, I believe, on his part.
Really well done in prep, I agree.
Also, as Nando mentioned in Henry's little thing, HPS on Moltres just guarantees that there is no chance for that Mence to set up, and he recognized that the Mence was the only real threat on that team.
Even if the Mence did get that +1 up and lived, did it kill the Moltres?
It killed the Moltres. There's no doubt in my mind about that. Because it had Dragonium Z.
Right, got it.
The issue is, does +2 Earthquake kill Rachi? I'd imagine it does. And that, if that case, it might have been an interesting game. But again, 2 scarfs. There was no way that game was ending well for Henry. So, good in prep, good in play. Good job to Cal.
He's got. Who's he playing next week? He's got
me.
Ooh.
Ooh.
So I'll ask you, what is your mindset going into that match?
Don't let myself get stalled out by the defensive core. Don't let Urshifu eat my ass. Don't let Rachi eat my ass. That's it. If I'm not swept by Urshifu or Rachi, I'm fine with the loss. I understand.
Get ready to be swept by Mega Venusaur with growth.
That's honestly fine. See, in my eyes, because I have the Mega Manectric, Cal is my hardest matchup because there's just no way for that mon to do anything. And if I lose to Cal, that is fine. I will fully accept a loss to Cal this week. Granted, I don't want to lose, because if Cal beats me, then I can't say that I've never lost to him.
You would say that Cal is favored in this match.
I would say Cal is favored. However, I think that I will have enough stuff there to make the match interesting.
Okay.
And we've been talking about me for a bit, so let's just go ahead and say I don't understand why he clicked close combat. I did the calcs. I think close combat was never the right answer on Slaking. Granted,
we agree.
Granted, I understand that you guys are saying that he should go into Zero Aura instead. I disagree with that. I can just bring in Mega Manectric for free, and then it's a whole other issue of he can't switch into Signal Beam. But still a shitty matchup for him. He shouldn't have been in that position.
Like I said, it was a short-sighted play because I don't think he was thinking about Dragapult getting 1 DD up and being able to sweep.
I am interested to know if he even knew that Dragapult got DD, because that's not run in OU anymore.
Well, like I said, when it comes to collecting knowledge in the game, one of the pillars, you should look at your opponent's team and look at those movesets. That's something that I do before every match.
And I agree, but you have to keep in mind that we spent 6 days trying to get into contact with him, and he was in a climbing trip the entire time. So I wonder if he even had that much knowledge about the team.
He was climbing, but he was clearly not climbing
the
ladders of Pokemon battling.
Clearly climbing the wrong areas.
But yeah, that's why I lost the match. That's why he's 13th.
That's why I'm number 2.
And following number 2, we have our number 1. This was a unanimous decision. The Denver Darkrai, Bobby Hahn, Carp Kaiser.
Bobby played a great game.
It was a really good game.
There's a reason
Yeah.
that it was it was the only matchup last week that we had last week. So I guess I can't say it's the reason we scope blended in, but yeah,
It was the
good
Amot,
match.
so it was the right match to cover.
Yeah, I mean, there was no moment in that game that Bobby didn't have utter control.
Oh, absolutely. Do you think so? How do you think the battle would have played out if Thomas would have led with Mega Diancie?
So I asked Bobby and I asked Thomas about this. Bobby said if he led Diancie, he would have gone hard into the Doug trio so that he could trap it. Thomas said he wasn't sure what he would do, but he probably would have clicked Moonblast. So that's in Mega form. So it really comes down to if the Doug trio kills with Earthquake on Diancie. I still think the game's a lot more interesting, granted. But yeah.
Who does Bobby play next week?
Let's take a look.
He plays Quinn. That's
Ooh,
gonna be a really good match.
why isn't that an Amot? What the fuck?
Because Amot is the tier matchups, but
Yeah,
like
are they
that's
not-
another.
Are they not the same tier?
No, Bobby is like tier 6, I think.
Okay, what the fuck are these tiers?
Wait, hang on.
This is
No, Bobby's tier 5.
This is ridiculous.
We moved Bobby down because he just tanked the end of the last split.
We can talk about this off camera. I think it'd be interesting to have it for a
Don't
later
get me wrong.
episode.
Of how the council decided, I had Bobby a lot higher.
I disagree with the idea of having a result-based, and outside of extreme circumstances, result-based tiering is not the answer in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd definitely like to talk about it more. We can kind of save that for an end of a podcast once we do a little bit more digging on just like what the right method should be.
Yeah. We'll save it for a later day, a rainy day. We don't have much to talk about.
Right. Definitely off season, probably.
For sure. Do we have anything else that we want to discuss?
Well, the next thing would be the betting line. So I talked
Yes.
with Zach, who sets our betting lines. He has it as +2 for the heroes.
All right. Let's go over the matches real quick because we have the Bog versus Bobby. So Clint versus Bobby. Me and Cal. Is that Ben and Ethan? Oh man, that's gonna be an interesting game to watch.
Yeah, that's the belt match as well.
The previous Stall Master versus the current.
Denoted by it being in Comic Sans.
Nice. Alex versus the Chesapeake Bay, so Salvi. Thomas and
versus-
Tickle. That is, man, Thomas is having a rough start to this season.
Yeah, tier 5s have a tough start to the beginning of the split.
And that is HW. Who's HW?
That's Hartford Willards. That's Espo.
Espo versus Patrick.
That's the Amot.
Mike and Swan.
That's a tough match for
Henry
Mike.
and Nando.
Henry and Nando.
Ooh, Jasper and
Henry's
Dan.
having a tough start.
Henry will be having a tough season for sure.
Yeah.
Let me see. What are my thoughts on this? You said the heroes are +2 in differential?
Yes.
Oof.
So that means they need to finish with 6 wins in order to cover.
Neat.
I mean, it was what, a 6-3 finish for the heroes, and we still ended with a 0 differential this week. It's kind of rough.
I would say that Bobby, even though it's a really close match, it could go either way between him and Quinn. I think Bobby's still favored in that match.
Yeah.
I'd have to look closer at the matchup. We were talking about you and Cal, how that could go back and forth, where Cal is, based on matchup, is favored. Just by tiering, I would be favored against Ethan.
I'm gonna say that my final answer is gonna be this is gonna be a villains 5 or more. So I'm taking the under.
Nando, what do you think?
Fuck. I think I'm gonna give it to the heroes.
You think the heroes are going to cover?
Do you think it's gonna be by +2
Yeah.
or less?
I think it's just gonna be my +1. I think it's gonna be 5-4.
So still the
Heroes.
under.
Oh, you're going to take the under?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm inclined to take the under this week. Because if you look at just the last 3 matches where it's Mike, Henry, and Jasper, I'm expecting potentially that most likely those 3 will lose their matches.
Oh, that's interesting. I think Mike's gonna upset, but
You
I
think?
I think Mike's gonna upset, but I think I'm going to lose in a pretty spectacular fashion to upset that.
But going based on my logic, if those 3 matches go how they are, that means the heroes have to win all 6 matches above those,
Yeah.
right?
Agreed.
So I think the heroes will be able to get 5 wins out of it, just not 6.
Mhm.
So we're all taking the under.
All right. Do you guys think there are gonna be any upsets after watching the week 1 matches? Because I think that
Ooh, yeah, we could all pick an upset this week.
my upset would go to Mike and Swan. I think that although Swan has a much better team, I think that he's just gonna fuck up. There's nothing else to say. I think Swan typically fucks up this early in the season.
Yeah, needs to get the rush shaken off in order to get in the right mindset.
I mean, Rush shaken off, and also he spends more time on ESO, Battlefront 2, and League than Mons.
True. Who would you say is favored in the Thomas versus Tickle matchup?
It's definitely Tickle favored. I don't think there's any denying that.
It's just both are coming off of losses where they both misplayed. So I think it would be interesting to see if Thomas, because
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a matchup or not, but
But one misplay ended in a 2-0 and one misplay ended in a 5-0. That's the problem there.
Nando, what do you think? What's your upset pick this week?
My upset? I think it's gonna be the Thomas Tickle match.
Really?
You
Oh,
think
that's
Thomas is
hot.
Yeah.
All right, I'll do you one better. I think Henry is going to upset Nando.
Whoa! Wow, that's
You
toxic.
better have something really good.
Do you? How? You know
Hey.
what? I don't want to reveal it to Nando.
I'm only
Message
here to
it
make
me.
hot takes.
Message it to me.
I'm only here to make hot takes.
The wheel
Okay,
pick.
sure, man.
The wheel pick is a hot zone. All right.
Dude, I'm fine with losing the bird. Come on. Just show me that you can beat me, child. Give me your best shot.
Well,
There's a lot to be excited about this week, so I'm looking forward. There isn't a match this week that I'm not looking forward to. I don't think.
I mean, there's one match I'm not looking forward to.
Which one's that?
It's Ethan's, because I hate watching Ethan matches live.
You don't like watching it. I have to play through it.
Yeah, I know. I'm glad I
Excited
don't
for the
have
match.
to face him.
Ready for it. So we'll see if it ends up working out.
Oh, there was an interesting question that Henry asked, because technically Cal did retire with the belt, right?
Cal didn't technically retire.
He left the scene for a season, right? How did Ethan get the
Right.
belt?
Beer league.
Beer League.
Beer
So
League.
that is how the belt came back into existence. Got it.
Yes.
Got it.
Beer leagues are MWPL sanctioned matches, therefore the belt can be passed through them.
All right. Well,
We'll link the history of the Brayburn belt in the comments in the
Will we?
description below.
will we?
I have no control over that, so that's
will
up
we?
to you.
You motherfucker. I mean, I think that's everything that needs to be said. So,
Yeah.
Wow, this is a short one.
Get your battles done. Hopefully that message gets out soon so that you can, get your matches taken care of.
It won't. I would just say that. I'm Pison, coach of the Portland Trail Blazers.
I am Ben Schluter, coach of the Hong Kong Bronzongs, commissioner of the Midwest Pokemon League.
That's
and Nando, Shanghai Sharpedo.
And yeah, that's been the Wheel Pick podcast for the week. Y'all suck.
Your first overall pick for draft and the official podcast of the Midwest Pokemon League.
Bye.
Take care.